This is a clip from the latest episode of the Game Football podcast from The Times. To listen to the full show, go to wherever you get your podcasts. Let's start at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Hosting Liverpool. It was only a few weeks ago that we were talking in this studio about what a dismal performance, shipping all these goals. Oh no, they're never going to be able to do it. And just turned it around. Johnny, your reaction first to this game. It's a huge win for Ange Postecoglou, isn't it? Not just in the season, but in the context of the period that he's been going through at the moment. To win at home, 1-0 against Liverpool, absolutely brilliant.
Massive, isn't it, as they say? And I mean, it keeps the season going in terms of silverware, and he set his stall out, said he's going to win something this year, and he might follow Wandy Ramos and scoop that League Cup. But no, I mean, like that might sound snide. I'm really pleased for him, to be honest. I was at Spurs on Saturday, which was another kind of very Ange day where they're beaten at home by, I suppose, a rival for the top five, or an aspiring rival, as it were. But actually played really well, and I was trying to make sense of what does a Spurs fan think about all of this, because they had great fun but lost again, and they watched Ange's team, from minute one of the game, any game they play as if it's the last few seconds of a cup tie, they're one goal down, and thrilling ride. But Newcastle picked them off last night against Liverpool. Played the same way, but why does one game end at 1-0 and the other one's 2-1?
Well, it's interesting you say about what Spurs fans think, because two of our colleagues on the editing desk, Glenn and Nick, who I often reference when it comes to Tottenham, both season ticket holders, both there last night. And so I wanted to get their view just very quickly. And I said, was it just the same? Was it just better and it was the same? They had two little points. They thought the fullbacks aren't quite being as reckless, if you want, aren't inverting as high up the pitch. Goalkeeper, obviously, Antonin Kinski, they thought was going a little bit longer occasionally, not always going short, going a little bit longer.
Coach that out.
But that was just a little insight as to what two season ticket holders in the ground thought of the game.
That's all probably true, but I think more significantly, every player played about 5% better, really. I mean, Solanke was quite good against Newcastle. He was fantastic against Liverpool. Bergvall had probably his best game. Maybe he should have been sent off. Definitely should have been sent off.
Okay, well, just very quickly on that. Does everyone think he should have been sent off? I don't think definitely should be sent off.
I don't think.
Why not?
Because the first one wasn't a booking.
Well, yeah.
But,
so
the second one
is. But you got to
look at what
the two yellow card offences were for. The second one was.
I also think there's genuinely a world in which the second one's not a yellow card.
Really?
Yeah, it's quite. I think that's quite naughty.
I don't know. He's sliding in their half. That's fine. Get on with the game, lads. It's all right.
What I do think's mad. I mean, fine, because these things go either way. It is mad that you can nobble a player. That player has to go off, and then the opposition are down to 10 men, and then you can score in the exact area that bloke you've just nobbled was supposed to be defending. I mean,
that might need looking at. But I just mean in terms of the narrative of the game.
That was about 8 World Cups ago, wasn't it? That they brought that rule in after a World Cup because players were just hitting the deck, taking time out of the game, breaking up the play, and so they wanted to find a way of deterring someone from going down unnecessarily, and so they brought in the rule that said if you go down, if you require treatment, you've then got to go off. And I totally agree. It's unfair. Someone can get kicked up in the air, and your team gets penalised, or you can get a clash of heads where quite clearly someone is hurt, and the team is almost penalised for it. But it came in for a reason. It came in because matches were just being destroyed, basically, by constant interruptions of a player going down when he didn't need to be on the floor, the physio having to go on, everyone stands around, the team loses its momentum, and then the game starts in a completely different way.
But just back to Bergvall, my only point, Johnny, was that I didn't think in terms of our discussion around the game, it was a defining, oh my God, this is a disgrace. I mean, one of those decisions, I don't think. Martin, do you agree?
No, look, I'm sort of with Gregor in as much as the first one possibly wasn't a booking. The second one-ish looked like a booking to me. But it's as ever. Look, Stuart Atwell's not a very good referee. I'm really sorry, but he's not. I know everyone gets very upset and says, "Oh, he never leaves referees alone. He's always blaming the referee." But he's not a good referee, and it didn't seem particularly consistent. And there you go.
Yeah,
that's
fine.
But
I think what I was hoping to do was to then bring it back to the game and to Tottenham, because I don't think it's we need to spend 15 minutes arguing over Lucas Bergvall and the red card. I think there's far more about this game that's more interesting for us to talk about. I think it's a little bit simplistic
to say it was the area of the pitch that they exploited too. It was a great ball by Porro into this kind of space between what would have been the space between the centre half and the fullback, and Solanke, great centre forward play by Solanke to get there first of all, to hold off Konate, to turn back and lay it inside. It was a great goal. Solanke. So I'm not sure it would have made that much difference personally, and I think just about Spurs deserved the victory. Like, Liverpool were a little bit off par, particularly on the ball. They threatened to have one of those phases of the game where they look like they can completely, a tidal wave can wash over the opposition. They threatened to have that for about 5 minutes in the second half, but it didn't really come. And Spurs kind of held in, and I think they deserved it.
Well, yeah. I guess what pleased me for Ange and for Spurs is that there's so much noise around that club, but there is a lot there to fasten on to beyond entertainment. If you're a Spurs fan, to think that this is going somewhere. One of them is Ange himself, who is still producing these performances out of a team that's had a lot of knocks. He keeps referencing it himself in the post matches, but he's right. Those guys are still running for him and playing with real positivity. But beyond that, I mean, the recruitment, I think, at Spurs has been really, really good this year. You look at Bergvall at 18, great talent. Archie Gray,
brilliant,
really brilliant, and a leader as well. And Chinsky comes in and doesn't just show the quality, but shows the character. And then Solanke, of course, which is starting to look like a very, very shrewd 60 million spent, and that was questioned at the time. So, and there's a new recruitment team there. They are still playing for Ange. They're trying to build around a young team. I think you do need signs of success on the pitch to get people keeping the faith. So I think it was reward for that, and I'm pleased for them in that sense.
Yeah, Martin, would you agree at that point that Johnny just made at the end there? You need a little moment sometimes when you're been under pressure.
Absolutely, you do.
This is the kind of reminder to doubters, if you like, we're going in the right direction here.
Look, I said last week, and I absolutely stand by that, 12th in the league isn't sustainable if you're a Tottenham manager, because it was a club that had pretensions to be amongst Europe's elite 2 or 3 seasons ago, and I don't think they'll stand 12th in the league unless he wins something. But one of the things that I thought about last night's game, and this is on Ange, this is completely on Ange, is that to buy is he 21 there, goalkeeper?
21, yeah. Chinsky,
21.
yeah.
To buy a 21-year-old on, what was it, Monday? And put him in the team on the Wednesday, I don't think there's another coach in the country that would do that. And I thought it was such a brave thing to do, because if it had gone wrong, if he'd have been responsible for 2 goals and that was them out of the tournament, everyone would have slaughtered Postecoglou for that. They would have said, how can you possibly have done that? It was an act of desperation. You had this guy kept goal for him at the weekend.
He was quite good.
Didn't do the worst job in the world. And
I was a bit nervous for Kinski in the opening 20
totally.
minutes as well.
You could.
There was that wobbling shot. I can't remember who hit it, and he kind of nearly wriggled under him. Oh no!
Yeah, and I just thought it was such a bold thing to do, and I don't think there's, you see managers now that are not the most sophisticated technicians, and they'll buy a player for 60 million quid or something, and you don't see him for 4 weeks because he's got to get used to the system. You're thinking, mate, you're 14th. Your system ain't, it's not really rocket science for this player to get used to, and that I thought was so refreshing. Bought a goalkeeper, stuck him in the team, And he did really well, and it was a wonderful sight at the end. He goes into the crowd, and his sisters, he's hugging his sister.
Oh, it's lovely, wasn't it?
And
Lovely.
His dad's there. His dad's a goalkeeper. His granddad's a goalkeeper. All of the families, the whole family of this goalkeeping tradition. I thought it was great.
Yeah.
But that is absolutely on the manager. That he was bold enough to do it.
Yeah, and it speaks to the sort of the belief that he's. That's part of his shtick, isn't it? I believe in you guys, no matter what age you are. It's the same with Gray as well.
Yeah, well,
he keeps saying it afterwards. He was
Gray.
saying, "We need to." I think I need to keep repeating this. This guy's 18, playing in a position that's not his usual position, and look what he's doing. And he's right. He is right.
And it stands with Archie Gray and with all these things. Maybe it's a reminder to all of us in such a reactionary world that we live in now, not just in football but everywhere. But that actually Archie Gray had a difficult period. Everyone's going, "Oh, they're missing centre backs and stuff," and just sticks with him. And he'll, Gregor, presumably be far more of a player for having gone through this period where he's had ups and downs. They've conceded 6 against Liverpool, etc. Then gets a clean sheet. He's suddenly chest out. He might be 18, but he won't be feeling 18 anymore.
No. Yeah, and Postecoglou said that afterwards too. He said, "I really hope I'm the guy here in 2 or 3 years' time who reaps the benefits of what these 18-year-olds are doing and what they're going to be in 2 or 3 years' time.
Yeah.
I hope I'm the guy here to kind of, to get the benefits of that."
Yeah.
I think, I hope he is too.
And they also had the kind of shock of Bentancur's injury. That was, again, part of what they had to react to mentally. And they will be. That is Ange referenced it afterwards, that this period could be the making of the team. It could be. That's the glass half full. But Chinsky, for example, makes more sense within what Spurs are doing than Fraser Forster, obviously, but even Vicario, I think, just in terms of age profile and the confidence that he seems to exude, because that's what's being bred there. You can it's positive, athletic, young, sort of fearless players, and that is an identity. And we talk a lot about clubs lacking identity. Well, nobody could accuse Ange of not imposing that on any of his football teams.
Absolutely, a great night for Ange Postecoglou. Martin, a word on Liverpool, and more than a word for all of us. A draw with Manchester United. You were writing on your Monday column about a great performance from United. Let's hope to see more from them. But it wasn't the greatest performance from Liverpool in that game, nor last night against Tottenham. Can we kind of, I was talking 2 minutes ago about being reactionary. Can we be reactionary and say, they're having a little blip, or just two little performances?
It's a little blip. It was the best Manchester United performance under Amorim, without a doubt, and it's the best Tottenham performance we've seen for a little while. So they're bringing out the best in others, perhaps. Well, whether they're bringing it out or whether they've just happened to walk on a couple. I mean, the Nottingham Forest match next week is really interesting because that's a good team. They're a very good team, Nottingham Forest, and they know absolutely what they're about. And so that's a real. I'm not saying that these aren't real tests, but the Manchester United performance is an outlier.
Yeah.
The Tottenham performance to some extent is an outlier. We've seen very good performances from Tottenham before, but we haven't seen too many crackers of late. That was a cracking performance. So that, in the short term, is an outlier. This is a game against a team that's on a roll that is better than anything they have recorded since before the days of Brian Clough, which takes some doing.
Yeah.
And a team that the manager has drilled very well. They've got a very identifiable way of playing, and we'll see. Yeah, and then if they beat Nottingham Forest, and you go, well, this was just a couple of games, and they had a couple of performances. If suddenly they get turned over from Nottingham Forest, I don't think it would be inappropriate to say this is a blip.
Yes, Johnny, we're going to talk about Nottingham Forest in more detail in the second half of the show. Just your reaction on Liverpool, on these two performances, these two results.
Yeah, they have dipped, but what's striking for me actually is that a Liverpool blip still involves putting two games together where they should have scored at least 3 goals, in if not 4, in both of those matches. So,
yeah, it didn't look like they were playing any different, really.
They weren't. No, the attacking part of the pitch is outstanding, and it's still better than anyone else. That's why they're top of the league. They've got so many options, and so good at that end of the pitch. Maybe what they haven't done in the last 2 games is the defensive side. Obviously, Trent was a reason on Sunday. Thought he was very good actually when he came on against Spurs, but maybe Konaté's a bit rusty, having just come back. Perhaps that is an area of weakness in the team. But if this is as bad as it gets for Liverpool, I think they'll take it, because they're still. I don't think in either performance they were a bad team.
No. Still having an exceptional season. I'm just being mischievous, Johnny. You know what I'm like. This is what I'm here to do. Try and wind up opposition fans. That's clearly what I'm trying to do. Gregor, just a little word from you on Liverpool on these 2 games.
I thought they were a little bit off. Maybe a little bit more down. I'm not saying this is going to, it's the start of a bad run.
You're being mischievous as well. Great.
I don't know. I just thought there were a few, like Curtis Jones was really anonymous and had a few sloppy touches. As I say, there's always been a period in the game, particularly if Liverpool have been behind or, have had a poor first half. They always have a period in the game, usually in the second half, where they threaten to swamp the opposition, or they do for could be 15 minutes and they might score 2 or 3 goals. It just didn't quite come. I think Tottenham deserves some credit for that, but I just thought they were a little bit below par. But Liverpool's still the best.
Still having a great season. Another team having a great season, and certainly a great period of fixtures and performances. Newcastle United, worthy winners against Arsenal in the first leg of their semi-final. Let's start with Newcastle and Eddie Howe's side. They're on an incredible run, Johnny. You saw them, as you mentioned. You talked about Tottenham in that Saturday game. You saw them beat Tottenham.
Yeah,
they're the form team, if anything, along with Liverpool at the minute.
There's a case for saying that those are the 2 best back-to-back games of Eddie Howe's Newcastle career, because they've had good spells under him before, but they're not just on a real run of form, but I think they're doing something different, and that's going to London, going to these big away games and playing with real bravery and assertiveness. There's always been a difference between them at St James's and them away from home, and that gap suddenly closed. They were right on the front foot against Spurs, and they were even braver against Arsenal. I'm not sure there's a better team, possibly Bournemouth, when it comes to putting intense pressure on at the top of the pitch. And when they're like that, and the other opposition's got a pressure and a doubt on them, which Arsenal did, they can really exploit you. They were just outstanding, and just how brave they were in stepping in to win the ball, I thought made the difference. And plus Isak, of course.
And on the flip side, the way in the second half and towards the end, they
managed it. Yeah.
Did you see when Almiron came on and he was going 5-5? I was like, well, I don't know what that means. Can't be going. And then it's the formation.
Yeah.
So that was an extreme. That was towards the end of the second half. They were really doubling down on it. But for much of the second half, they looked like they really enjoyed to kind of just defend the box.
Yeah.
And that takes bravery as well. It's
do you get a wee Craig Levein vibe about take the strikers off, just put everyone behind the ball?
I'm not sure that's having said he was the 2 greatest results of Eddie Howe's career, Johnny. I think you've really kind of poured cold water over it. Yeah. Martin, Newcastle though, we've got lots to get excited about this team at the moment, haven't we?
Absolutely, and you'd like to see them. You'd like to see them win it. They haven't won anything for years. And so you'd like to see them win it, and I just thought they're just very good. That midfield is exceptional. Isak is an exceptional player, and Eddie Howe's gone from a guy that everyone said, but he can't defend. He can't organise a defence. He doesn't know what he's doing at the back, and they can see too many goals and all of this when he was at Bournemouth. To a guy that has produced this very, very cussed team, this very determined team, and you look at them now, if you back a team to be able to see a game out, it would be Newcastle.
Yeah. Well, then going back to St James's Park with this win as well, so you'd be
Arsenal
thinking
have got traumas aplenty there.
Yes, absolutely. I just wanted to ask you both. Just touched on Isak. Obviously, brilliant season he's having, looking like up there with Erling Haaland as the best striker in the Premier League. But I was thinking, watching this game and thinking about this forward line, and this is going to link to what we're going to talk about Arsenal. But if you were picking a front 3, everyone plays front 3s these days. If you're picking a front 3, would 2 of the 3 be Isak and Gordon, based on form?
In the Premier League?
In the Premier League.
Certainly Isak. He's the best striker in the league.
But if we're talking, going back to the conversations we had in the summer about playing people in the right positions and things, Saka and Salah are obviously competing for that spot on the right-hand side with their brilliant left foots cutting in. I was, if you're picking on form, if you're picking on, talent this season,
Gakpo's in good form too.
But have Newcastle got two of the three? If you were picking the seasons now, you guys pick your teams of the season, etc. You'd be having Salah with Saka coming off the bench on the right wing, but.
You could get carried away with Newcastle because a lot of their midfield are getting as well.
I was just going to say that.
But but that's where I am getting carried away.
You could end up with a team with 4 or 5 Newcastle players in it, and then you're sitting there thinking, so why aren't they winning the league?
But maybe that'll be enough to win a
midfield too. But I completely agree. Yeah. I was watching this thinking that those two and their midfield is like absolute elite level now.
Yeah, that's what I'm getting at. They're playing against Arsenal and going. They're going completely toe to toe with them.
Like Hall, and Livramento, who are like grown in stature. Hall is really defensively as well. That was the question mark about him. Now you see him 1v1, and he's
Thomas Tuchel will be excited about him, won't he?
Yeah,
Dan Burnsley in a ridiculous level.
Tuchel, by the way, Thomas Tuchel should be excited about Livramento as well because. You look at Lewis Hall and go, oh, we haven't got a left back, and this guy's a left back, and we found a left back. Have a look at our right backs. This one, you can't get in the job. Right, so we've got Walker, who's getting slower. You've got Walker who's getting slower. Trent and. How could you ignore Trent? Well,
I think you only need to say the word Trent these days. That's it. Everyone knows what you're talking
Trent
about.
Depends what you want out of your right back.
Yeah.
And until the weekend, people have said the defensive game had improved, and then he had that match against Manchester United. Okay.
I'd like one of the best footballers in the world at right back, though.
Yeah, well, that's okay. We'll see.
But Livramento still gets in the conversation.
Wasn't a mug, and he didn't play him there. And a couple of years ago, and there's a reason he ain't got a contract at Liverpool either, because no one thought to give him one because he wasn't playing like he's played the first 6 months this season. Anyway, Walker. Reece Jones is a hamstring injury waiting to happen. Sadly, an absolute tragedy. The man's career. So suddenly we've gone from all of these. We've got so many right backs, and suddenly you're looking at Livramento and going, he's a good player. He's a good right back.
Yeah.
If you were Thomas Tuchel, you'd come away with Lewis Hall, but you'd also certainly against Tottenham. Yeah. Man of the match against Tottenham, Livramento. You'd come away with Lewis Hall, but you'd come away with Livramento as well, as a squad player, as whatever you want.
Yeah, look, I haven't given you my Trent fan club little glib answer. I think that's right, because we don't know if Tuchel's going to play back 4 or back 3 yet. And he might be looking for wing backs. And he loved Reece James at Chelsea in that situation. But one thing Trent hasn't done very well is performed at wing back when he's been given the chance. It just doesn't suit him. And Livramento could definitely do that.
Yeah.
And
I don't think it's just, what I mean is I don't think it's just Lewis Hall.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
In the fullbacks at Newcastle, I don't think it's just Lewis Hall. I think it's Livramento as well.
Tonali though. Tonali is just proper, isn't he?
Yeah.
So much authority.
But this is what I mean. This is, as Martin says, you start going and picking your best Premier League team, and you go, Newcastle have got at least 5 or 6 players who are in the conversation.
We're going to be looking at it going, Eddie Howe's underachieving this team. It's got the best team in the league.
But the reason for asking that question about Isak and Gordon is because it links to the obvious question around Arsenal this season and Mikel Arteta, and looking at that team. Because I was looking at this game and looking at those two teams and going, Newcastle, you're kind of, if you as a neutral looking at these two, I'm like,
they tell Isak's people, don't they? Yeah. They have a conversation with Isak's people, and they say, he's not going to make the team every single week. Kai Havertz, we've got this way of playing Kai Havertz. Mikel's got this way of playing Kai Havertz that they like. That's one of the reasons that Isak didn't push in the summer. To leave Newcastle for Arsenal. That they didn't give him the encouragement that he would be their first choice centre forward.
Which is mad, because we've been extolling the Newcastle players, but I do think Isak's a step above all of them, because he's a step above every striker in the Premier League at the moment. To have that, you don't usually see players with that level of athleticism and speed. Strikers, sorry, that have also got the intelligence. He's got the intelligence of a kind of slower striker who's had to make up for it by movement and so on. But he's got the pace of one of those brilliant run through players at the top of the pitch. It's a great combination. And with Arsenal, I know there's admirers of Isak at the club, but Arteta preferred midfielders in the summer and has got a lot of faith in.
And surely missed his chance now. We're in silly money territory, aren't we now? With Isak, the fees that get bandied around for players these days. I mean,
there are moments of like his sharpness are just ridiculous. There was a run right in the first few minutes where he's gone back on side and like stummied, I think it was Saliba basically, and then darted in behind, ball over the top, and he was through. Like such intelligent forward play. And then there was another bit where he picked it up, and he was like waiting for a dangling leg before he beat him down the line. So he's like the technique as well. Johnny's referenced a lot of his attributes there. Technique as well. It's like combine the pace and the intelligence, everything. Yeah, he's brilliant. He's brilliant.
Gregor, where do you think it leaves Arsenal, this kind of performance, go, for the rest of their season? Got a big game against Manchester United in the FA Cup on Sunday. Mikel Arteta, Martin was talking about Ange Postecoglou winning a trophy and things. We went into this season going, well, Arsenal are the obvious, heirs to the throne, etc. They're going to take over from Pep and City, except not looking like that might be the case in the league. No, you didn't. Well done. Well done. They still could, so I just don't.
They still could. They still could, but it doesn't necessarily follow that you're the next cab off the rank.
No, absolutely
It never
not.
has done in sport.
Absolutely
Lee
not.
Westwood never won a major.
But
They
just
look a little one-dimensional at the moment. Just a little bit like there were a lot of times to get the ball, work the ball out to Martinelli, and he didn't really look like he had the confidence, or he had the beating of. He knew he didn't have the beating of Livramento. He's not really. I hoped earlier in the season when you thought he's going to get a chance to kind of find the form that he had when him and Saka were the best wingers in the Premier League by a country mile. Was last season, a couple of years ago now?
2 years ago. 2 years ago.
And it's not really happened. Trossard's not really been the impact kind of replacement, or they're just a bit one-dimensional in terms of their attack. Look, they created chances.
Yeah.
And Havertz's header particularly it turned out to be
Martinelli
a shoulder.
hit the post as well, didn't he? I think.
Yeah. Martinelli hit the post,
But they could have scored goals in this game, but I just feel like they're attacking. There's a sort of creative deficit in the team when they don't have Bukayo Saka and Odegaard isn't like firing on all cylinders.
I would
go.
I would go. I'm not saying you'd get him, but I'd go for Ollie Watkins, and I'd go Ollie Watkins in January, because he clearly doesn't appear to be happy with the situation at Aston Villa with Joanne, and they always see, you always read about Aston Villa in connection with the profit and sustainability and all of this sort of stuff. I'd be inclined to test Aston Villa this January on Ollie Watkins if I was Arsenal, and that gives you a centre forward, and it might give you a centre forward, and I know he's not in the form that Isak is, nowhere near it in fact, but that could be because he doesn't like the situation at Aston Villa. He doesn't like being almost on trial
with a bloke on his shoulder the whole time.
With a bloke on his shoulder, because that has happened before at Villa. That happened when they bought Danny Ings. I want to say that Ollie Watkins was in great form, and they bought Danny Ings, and that season he wasn't as good. And what you hear is that he thought that showed a lack of faith in him. He didn't like the idea that he wasn't the number one anymore, and that he was in this duel with Danny Ings. I don't know if that's how he's feeling at the moment.
Interesting.
But I don't think there's any harm in testing it.
Yeah. Johnny, final word from you on Martin's idea there, and also Arsenal, just generally.
No, it's a good idea. Liam Delap's another that comes to mind. Might be more expensive. But yeah, you do. It's football by numbers at times. That as Gregor said, it's predictable, and it just looks like. And this speaks to Martin's point about always the next cab off the rank. It's because you've got to keep developing. You can't just keep doing the same. And it doesn't look like Arteta's developed that team this year, either in terms of playing ideas or the overall quality of what he puts on the pitch.
Yeah.
And there might be that sense. Sorry to.
No.
There might be that sense that they know that they're not the next cab off the rank either. That they know that maybe their chance was 2 years ago, in the way that Tottenham's chance was that year that Leicester won the league. And then after that, I know they get to the Champions League final or whatever, but in terms of domestically, it sort of just gradually declines after that, because there is that feeling of that was the missed putt on the 18th or whatever. That was the moment that was your chance. That isn't going to come again. I don't know if that's if that can infect a whole team, but there's something about Arsenal this season that you just get the sense that it's just stagnated a little bit. There's just that almost like there's an air of disappointment.